Just to let you guys know, this is Bish from the future. As soon as we recorded this episode, we'd found out that Marvelous Europe had removed all references to Senran Kagura on their website as well as their YouTube channels. So you can't actually see any of the trailers anymore. You can't get actual information on previous Senran games. It's still up as of this episode's launch. That information is still up on the Xseed website. It's still up on the Marvelous Japan website. So it's just safe to say that a lot of this information within this episode, we were kind of driving to kind of get Marvelous to reconsider Senran in Europe, but clearly they've made their decision on that. I don't know how it's going to affect with our future episodes if we do decide to get Marvelous on in the future, which I am still interested in building a relationship with them. You guys know that they still do have some really lovely games that they are releasing. So if we do get them on, I will have to mention this from now, guys, that we're not going to be mentioning anything to do with Senran with them because they're quite clear by their choices and by their decisions. So we're not going to be asking them any Senran related questions if we do get them on the podcast before. So just that little bit of a disclaimer. Please enjoy the episode. I know a lot of it is kind of a little bit outdated now considering Marvelous has made their decision, at least in Europe, but maybe we can change their mind. So it might be worth sharing this episode around to Marvelous Europe, to Xseed, to Marvelous Japan. Get it out there because at the end of the day, the fans is what they listen to. They listen to money. They're a company. So if the fans are really wanting Senran, then I still believe that there is a place for Senran in this modern gaming world. And we kind of do explain it in the episode, so stick around for that. Thank you guys for listening in advance. Passing it off to Bish in the past, I guess. Hey guys, and welcome to Get Alive Podcast. It's me, Bish, and we are joined by, as always, the lovely Jacob.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
I'm doing right, Jacob. I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing peachy. I'm living my life, living my truth, living happy ever after.
I'm glad. You know what? I was gonna do some sound bites, but then I thought maybe not. We got a soundboard, so guys, expect some really stupid sounds throughout the show. If you guys don't like it, well, you could fuck off. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
I spent so much money on this soundboard, guys. Okay, I'm having so much fun with it. There you go, we got a Nico knee. But today we're not going to be talking about soundboard. We're not going to be talking about Nico knee. This is a gaming podcast after all. And today we're going to be talking about Senran Kagura. And you're like, whoa,
Exactly.
Bish, Senran Kagura, that's a game that we haven't heard about in a while. Basically, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the future of Senran, as well as what kind of games we've had recently and what to expect in the future. Before we get into the main bulk of discussion, I want to thank our sponsors, Crunchyroll and Sugoi Mart. In addition to that, big thanks to Marvelous Europe and Idea Factory for providing codes. Before we get into the discussion, for you new folks, Get Life Podcast is a monthly gaming discussion podcast under the Get Life group. We talk about all sorts of games, from big AAA titles all the way to awesome indie titles, but our forte is Japanese games, so expect that a lot. We can be found wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now Anchor. Please consider supporting the show directly on our Patreon for early access and ad-free episodes, as well as indirectly through our awesome sponsors, Crunchyroll and Sugoi Mart. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Senran Kagura. For some reason, every time I say Senran Kagura, I want to say it in a Scottish accent, but I'm not going to. So, Senran Kagura is a third-person hack and slash beat-em-up game developed and published by Tamsoft / Honey Parade Games and Marvelous, aka Xseed if you live in the US. It's designed and produced by Kenchiro Tataki, who's also worked on the likes of Iki Tosen, Iya VT Colorful, which we mentioned on our Miku episode.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he worked on that.
Don't start.
Yeah. That game, that song fucking slaps. I'm sorry.
I know if you want to see the lights.
Oh yeah, exactly. We all want to see the lights, and I don't want to get into this.
Is it want to see the lights, or can you see, or you can see the lights? I forgot.
I think it's want to see the lights.
I know you all can see it. I think it's all you all can see the lights.
You know what? It might be like a Mandela effect, where it's actually the opposite, but that's besides the point. He also worked on Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, as well as Katagawa Jet Girls, which is very interesting because Katagawa Jet Girls and Grand Blue Fantasy, I think, was after the time he left, but that's besides the point. The release date for Burst Renewal is 2019, January 22nd, and Nin Ninja, aka Senran Kagura slash, what was it? What's Nin Ninja's name?
It was Neptunia X Senran Kagura.
Yeah, that's the English name, but I call it Nin Ninja because that's the name that it is in Japan.
Yeah,
that released in September 16th, 2021, which is actually fantastic. It is something that obviously we got as game codes, I believe. So big thanks to Idea Factory, aka, was it Idea Factory that gave us the code? It was Idea Factory.
I think so, yeah.
Because we both got a code, so I'm trying to think how we got. I think Koch Media actually had something to do with it as well. But
the way you can't even remember.
I can't. We get so many codes. I can't remember what we get it for. So yeah, Jacob, how did you get into Senran? Like, what was your first Senran game?
My first Senran game was the one on Nintendo 3DS.
Oh, okay, the side scroller.
Yeah, like the very first one. What was it called? It was Senran Kagura Burst, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Burst, and then obviously Senran Kagura Burst 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't remember. Maybe I got into Senran Kagura because of the Dead or Alive collab. You know, like how they had a costume collab. Maybe that's why I got into it.
That
I can't
costume
remember.
collab came in way after the 3DS games, though. Like that was in like the end of DOA 5's life cycle.
I don't remember why. I remember like for myself, for some reason it was like such a big memory, just like me thinking about the game. I don't know why back then. Like I remember the game, and like I remember getting the game and being like, oh my god, I'm so excited to play this. And yeah, like when I got into it, I was like really like, wow, this game is a lot of fun. Like genuinely, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean that's all I really have to say. It was like on the 3DS, like I think it wasn't it the very first localized Senran Kagura 2?
Yeah, I think that's actually also the first Senran game because it started off on the 3DS.
Yeah, it's like a remake of the first game, yeah.
Yeah, because it got re-released because I think that game originally came out on the 3DS and then they re-released it in Japan under a different name with like expansion pack, and then we got the expanded version in the West.
If I remember correctly, they basically made like the original game, but you could only play as the good school, and then like in the remade version you could also play with the bad school.
Yeah, and it's the same like that in Burst Renewal as well on the PlayStation 4. They basically allow you to play as the other schools and things like that. It's very interesting to hear how you got through it, because I thought you got through the same time as me, because the way I got into Senran Kagura was actually, there was a friend of mine who is a VTuber, big shout out to Saya. He was like, hey, Bish, I think you'd enjoy this game. And this was back in the day on the Vita. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to try this game out. And then I was like, no, this game looks a bit too pervy. Like, why would I get this game? And then it was actually, so he suggested it to me. Saya suggested it to me. And then, yeah, so basically it was Jazz who was working at Reef Entertainment at the time. Shout out to Reef Entertainment, because they're the guys that deal with the Idea Factory and NIS America games in Europe. So big shout out to Reef. So we were there at the Reef's office doing a recording. And we were there with Will and Jazz at the time. I don't know if they still work there. Obviously Jazz, I think, working somewhere else, but I don't know about Will. So we were talking about it, and then he was like, oh, you got a Vita, right? I was like, yeah. And he was like, you should play Senran. And I was like, you know what? You're the second person that told me to do it. And this is the thing about Jazz, is that he's very persistent. I can't say no to him. Like every game that he suggests, I have to fucking buy, right? He did that with Danganronpa. He was like, yeah, you love Danganronpa. I was like,
Danganronpa.
And the funny thing is, NIS were dealing with Danganronpa at the time, so I'm like, is he doing this because he wants me to buy the game? I don't know. Like, but no, he was like, you really enjoy Senran, you really enjoy Danganronpa, and he also suggested Criminal Girls. So you know what? I trust Jazz's judgment. You know what I mean? Like, he is the judge in this case, and I genuinely trust his opinions on that. So he hasn't steered me wrong. But yeah, for people that don't necessarily know Jazz did work at REIT for a while. If you went to MCM or if you went to any sort of gaming expo within the UK, you would have seen him there representing NAS America and Idea Factory. So yeah, he's a legend in the circles, I guess. But yeah, so he introduced me to the game as well as Saya, and I really, really enjoyed it. My first Senran game was Shinobi Versus on the PlayStation Vita. I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't just because of the whole ecchi aspect. I know people swear by it, but for me, it was the fact that this is another hack and slash game that isn't a Muso game. It was very refreshing to kind of see that and play that and actually invest into a different story, because behind all of that etchiness, there is actually a decent story to Senran, right? It's not just titties. It's actually gameplay. And I know there's a meme where people are like, oh, you mean gameplay? Shut up, okay? It's literally a good game.
That is also true for me actually, because of course like there's always this like, oh, breaking like costumes and stuff. Of course there is, but like that is not or partly what I play this game for. You know, I also enjoy Dead or Alive, and that is not because I'm in it for the sexual aspect. Like literally, there's something so, I don't know how to put it. I guess there's something so fabulous for me about it. I don't know how to explain it, especially like the customizations and stuff, and like just like seeing all these like characters and like really like getting to know them and stuff. I know a lot of people don't, as you mentioned, like they reduce them to like, you know, their sexuality, which sucks in my opinion, because like a lot of these characters are really likable. Like you can even like tell there's character development, but I mean there's always going to be people like that, sadly.
I think honestly, this, because of the nature of the game, I would say the main people that play Senran aren't like me and you, right? Like the main fandom of Senran are probably like, oh, it's cute anime girls, I'm gonna play this game, titties, all of that, right? So I think between me and you, and I know there's a lot of other Senran communities members that are like us, right? So that, you know, we kind of play the game. I don't want to say we kind of play the game, you know, not for that aspect, but we see beyond that. And I think there's a lot of Senran community members that see beyond the etchiness, right? And as you mentioned, there's some really nice features in Senran, I think, which really kind of attracted me, at least initially. At that time, I didn't have many games that utilized the Vita's touchscreen. Yes, it was specifically for the transformation scenes, but even then, it was quite magnificent how they sort of transformed it. Very, well, like, reminded me of, like, Sailor Moon and, like, you know, like those anime Mahou Shoujo, like magical girl transformations. It was very reminiscent of that. Yes, it was a little bit sexualized, I will say that, but it was still quite fantastical. It was still quite magical. The way that these characters change their costumes and they get really powered up and they just beat the shit out of people, right? The movesets were fantastic. The choreography of those movesets and of the characters themselves were really good. It's like also the fact that you mentioned the customization. That was another thing.
That is honestly one of my favorite things. Here's the thing, I am a sucker for customization in games. Like, of course I also like simple customization. I don't need necessarily like games that like let you edit single fucking, I hate this word, but like every single fucking crevice on a character's body. I don't really need that. But like, because I know I'm gonna put way too much time into that and I'm not having that. So like if there's like simple presets or like something, you know, where I'm like, okay, I get the freedom to customize something, I'm all over that shit. Let me just tell you that. So like I can absolutely tell you, I think I bought like every single fucking DLC for like Estival versus
Same.
because it's so much fun. Even though there's a lot of it that's like the same as like other Senran Kagura games, I just enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it so much.
I mean, there's a lot of features in that game as well in terms of customization that I really do enjoy. Like the fact that you can give any character the same haircut. Like,
Exactly.
it's crazy like that. Like, for example, Honoka from Dead or Alive is in one of the games, right? So you can make Honoka look like, you know, Asuka or another character within the Senran series if you wanted to, and vice versa. So you can kind of share a lot of aspects, a lot of costumes between characters. Bear in mind, when you look at the character models themselves, they are basically the same character model, right? Just slightly changed a little bit. Maybe it's the height, maybe it's the skin tone, stuff like that, or hair. But if you shaved all their heads, they look pretty much exactly the same. So that kind of lends it to allowing more customization, because you can basically fit the same stuff on all of these characters, whether it is underwear, whether it is swimsuits, or actual characters' transformation outfits. Like, I don't know, like for me personally, what I like to do is I tend to put like my favorite characters in Asuka's clothing, because Asuka is like one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's amazing.
You know, yeah, she is amazing. I kind of want to get into like a little bit of the characters in general terms. It's just fantastic how many different combinations you have in terms of customization. I think it only gets better with each Senran game. It did drop off a little bit with a Burst Renewal, which kind of disappointed me a little bit. And I think the reason why it dropped off was because there wasn't any transformation scenes. They kind of removed transformation out of that. And it's another thing like with Nin Nin Ninja.
Which one was that? Renewal?
Burst Renewal. It was a remake of Senran 1 and 2.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
They re-released the game in the 3D style from the 3DS to the PS4. It's like the last actual Senran game. And the reason why I say the last actual Senran game is because I'm not counting Peach Ball and I'm not counting New
Yeah, so basically like all the fan service games.
Yeah, I'm not counting those games. And
although, isn't Estival and Shinobi versus, aren't those also canon? in a
They
way.
are, yeah. Estival and Shinobi Versus are canon. So they kind of
Mhm.
follow the story afterwards, which is why I like Estival and Shinobi Versus, right? But you don't, that's another thing.
Festival Versus is, for me, it's like
It's
the
the best.
elite
Exactly. It's the
game
best Senran.
of the
Yeah,
series.
100%. The thing is with Senran, like in general, like you can play the games out of order and you'll still really enjoy them. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need to play 1 and 2 to know the story, but it will be beneficial. Like, you
Mhm.
also get the story through the anime if you really want to watch it, which is on Funimation, and it is dubbed, which the games were never dubbed, so I don't know why the anime was, but
Yeah, no, they were not dubbed, but I guess it's just because,
I think it's probably
anime
to anime,
usually
yeah.
are get dubbed.
That's it. So it's just very interesting. Like if you really want to play the best of what Senran has to offer, you kind of gotta play Estival. I think that's just the main game because it's got everything. It's got everything from Shinobi Versus in terms of game mechanics, but it's also got more characters. It's got shit ton of DLC characters as well. Like I remember the first time I went to Marvelous, and look, Marvelous, if you're listening, I love you guys, and you know I really appreciate when you let me going on because, and a lot of people don't know this. The first place I went out to actually record outside of doing remote recordings and stuff like that was Marvelous. They were the first people that actually invited, which was actually insane. Because imagine like a small podcaster, well, technically we still are a small podcast, but imagine getting an email from Marvelous saying, hey, do you want to come down and talk about Senran? Because they'd noticed that I was talking about Senran before. And they were like, yeah, we've got Estival Versus coming out. Do you want to come over and we'll talk about it? And I was just freaking the fuck out. I was, no way. And then they gave me the Kagura mouse pad and they gave me a bunch of games.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I was just like, I was freaking the fuck out. I was just like, shit, like Marvelous? Like really? Like it was actually really cool because we actually got to sit down and talk about a lot of stuff. I did also mention Ia as well because Ia, that game was
Oh
coming
my
out at the
God.
same time. And literally all they said was, well, that game's not coming overseas.
Yeah.
But in general, it was really cool because I was reading like Famitsu at the time and they had like a special Famitsu edition for Senran. And
Oh
it
my
makes me think,
God.
I was just like, oh my God, like Senran
I would
is
have killed someone for that. Just letting you know. I love listen, this is the thing. Senran Kagura has the most amazing deluxe editions.
Yeah,
This is the
100%.
truth. I actually, when I went to Japan, I don't know if that was after I got back the first time. That was around the time when I played Burst on my 3DS. I got so into the game that I like looked up like merch online and I actually ended up like ordering like the collector's editions of, what was it, Shinobi Versus and I think another game. I can't remember if it was the first Burst or whatever, but I ordered like 2 of those and I have like a bunch of the figures standing in my shelf right now. Sad thing is some of them were broken.
That's a
I don't
shame.
know if that was because of the delivery or because it was just like faulty factoring. I don't know. But yeah, Senran has the most amazing deluxe editions. Like anything. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, like with them in general, like I think back then, if you had contacted Marvelous, they would have just sent you a replacement. By the way, they're that nice over there. They would
Well,
have done
here's
it.
the thing though, like I ordered the Japanese versions. I don't know if they have the
Um,
Japanese versions because the Japanese versions were the ones with the figures.
you know,
I don't think they were like ever brought to Europe or
it
like
might be the
America.
case that they
I don't
weren't,
know.
but a lot of the time, from what I've found out, is that Marvelous were really good at making those figures available and like doing special editions. Like there were people that were importing from the US, the UK versions, just because they came with the mouse pads, they came with all this kind of stuff. And I think Marvelous, at least back then, were really, really on point with Senran, at least Marvelous Europe, and they really seemed to care about the series. And that's really what we're kind of gonna jump into a little bit more today. Before we go on an ad break, I know we spoke about it a little bit, but what Senran is your favorite game?
I think it would have to be Estival Versus.
Yeah, I agree with you. Estival is just a fantastic game. Like the scenery in Estival was fantastic. The moves. I think Estival also used new models as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like, wasn't that game like?
It might have, yeah. It definitely had like improved graphics because Shinobi was on the PS Vita.
No, you know what? Shinobi was also on the PlayStation 3 because it never got released outside of the Vita in the West, but in Japan it got like a PS3 release, I think.
I played the PS Vita version.
Oh, okay. But you know, also the games are also on PC. If anyone wants to know, where can I get
I know.
Senran, like if you want to play, I think the best Senran experience is on the PC, and you can find them quite cheap actually on Steam. So that is a thing. But yeah, I really did enjoy Estival. I think that was like Tamsoft's last Senran game before Honey Bunny Parade took over, so I don't think it used the new models yet.
Yeah, it was Samsoft. Yeah. Also, they had DOA.
They did. They had Ayane and Kasumi, I think.
Yeah, I was so all over that. Oh well, they didn't have Kasumi, but they did have Ayane. Yeah.
No, I think they had Kasumi. I'm not sure if they had her as a character, but they had her like costumes and things.
They might have had the costumes of her, but she was not a character in Estival. The only DOA character that was DLC
Was Ayane.
was Ayane, yeah. And then Ikitosen. I have never played Ikitosen,
Ikitosen.
but like they were like I think like characters like
They had Guan
like
Yu
Lubu,
and-
Zhou and
They
something
localized their
else.
names for the West, but yeah, it's basically Ikitosen is basically Romance of the Three Kingdoms as with anime girls. That's basically what it is. It's set
Okay.
in a high school, which is pretty cool.
I remember getting the game and customization said like Lubu, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Lubu? And then it's just a literal schoolgirl.
Yeah, it's called Battle Vixens in North America, but it's a really old like anime series, manga series. Sorry, started in 2000, so it's like
Okay.
almost 22 years old now. So the fact
I can't
that
believe it's like almost 10 years ago since they brought Senran Kagura to the West with the first game.
Yeah, and I think it's been
So
more,
wild.
It's been more than 10 years, but yeah, it is. It's I think Senran came around the same time as GALP. Like I think we're older than Senran by 1 year, which is pretty insane to think about. The fact that it's relatively a new series, but it's pretty much dead, and we'll talk about that in the next part of this episode after the little. Right before we get into the ads, I want to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page where you can support us directly for only £5 a month. It means that you don't need to listen to ads like this, as amazing as they are. It's a no-brainer. You get early access to our show as well as ad-free content for all of the podcasts that we do. Or if you decided, well, I might go for a one-time donation, you could do so on our coffee page. That's coffee.com/GetAlivePodcast. That's ko-fi.com/GetAlivePodcast. Our Patreon is patreon.com/GetAlivePodcast. Also, consider subscribing to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening to, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, even on YouTube. Subscribing is free. It also means that you keep up to date with the content that we do post for all of our podcasts. If you do leave a like on YouTube, or if you give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platforms, it really does help us get up in the rankings. It really does help us get more sponsorships. It helps us out a lot. You don't know how much that actually helps us. So consider leaving us a positive review, telling us your thoughts as well, and stuff that we can improve on. Really does help me out a lot as well. Gives me a motivation. So subscribe, consider leaving a 5-star review or a comment if you're on YouTube, and enjoy the ad break and the rest of this episode. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Crunchyroll. As you guys know, Crunchyroll has been sponsoring us for a while now, and we love them, and we know you guys love them too. So get your asses over to Crunchyroll, where you can enjoy the world's largest anime collection for only £6.50 a month. That's cheaper than pretty much all of the other streaming services out there. And you get quite a lot of anime, over 30,000 anime episodes, and anime 1 hour after it airs in Japan. You can enjoy sub or dub in multiple languages from what I've seen on Crunchyroll. We use it personally on the podcast, and I'll be honest with you, it's one of my favorite services to use for anime streaming because of all of the options that you get. If you go for the mega fan option, you do get the ability for offline viewing. So if you're on the train, or if you're going to a place where there is no internet, you can save for offline viewing and still enjoy your anime. Imagine if you're on a road trip, right? You're traveling across America, or you're traveling across the UK, and you want to watch anime, your friend's driving, and you're like, you know what, I want to watch some Spy Family, or I want to watch some Attack on Titan, or some Dr. Stone. You could probably guess which anime I'm watching currently. If you want to enjoy anything, you're spoiled for choice with Crunchyroll. Not only that, you've got ad-free anime, and as a bonus, you get access to the Crunchyroll manga as well, which is actually really cool if you go for your fan or mega fan options there as well. I'd recommend actually purchasing the 12-month mega fan, because you're saving 16% off, and you don't need to worry about about it, right? Stream on 4 devices at the same time, which is actually fantastic, especially if you're in a big family and everyone wants to watch different anime. You could do that with the Mega Fan option, as well as offline viewing. And you get a discount on the Crunchyroll store if you want to buy Nendroids or figurines or merchandise directly from Crunchyroll. Once again, you can watch anytime, anywhere, stream on your desktop, mobile, gaming consoles even, and other streaming devices that include iOS, Android, Apple TV, Xbox, Roku, PS4 / the PS5. So it's a no-brainer, guys. If you love anime, or even if you don't like anime and you want to know more about it, go to crunchyroll.com/kunai or go to getalifepodcast.com /Crunchyroll. It's the same link. They work on the same way. And sign yourself up for a 14-day free trial. You can cancel anytime, but just make sure you guys sign up. Give it a try. If you wanted to think, oh, what was this anime thing about? Give it a try. Crunchyroll.com /Kunai. That's crunchyroll.com /KUNAI. Back onto the episode. I was going to play an ad break for us to listen to, but then I thought, let's not do that. So, Jacob.
Yes.
Sorry
Can
about that. Yeah.
I'm gonna drink a small sip of water real quick.
I don't want you to choke on the water. I had to do the soundbite. So Jacob is drinking some water, but I want to know, what did you think about Ninja? Was it called Neptunia Cross Senran Kagura Ninja Wars is the name of it. So what did you expect when you heard about the game? Were you excited? Were you like, oh, I don't know what to think about it? What was your initial thoughts before even seeing the game or anything like that?
I was actually really excited because here's the thing. Although I own quite a few Neptunia games, I have never really played that many of them, but I have played a lot of the Senran games, right? So I was like, okay, let me dive into this. And I played it. I like the combination, but I'm really not that big on the gameplay. It does not feel like they used the formula of the gameplay that Senran usually brought correctly. Like, I know, at least I think that like Neptunia usually is like a turn-based game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is a turn-based RPG.
The gameplay to me just didn't feel polished, or I don't want to say it didn't feel fun, but it definitely felt like it was a bit, I mean, all I can say is meh.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love the combination. I think the two series are like I don't want to say meant for each other, but like they make a great match. But yeah, like the gameplay is just not it.
Yeah, it was very interesting because I got my first press release from Reef Entertainment and they were like, we're excited to announce that this game is releasing, and then I was freaking the fuck out.
Do you remember? I saw the announcement on Twitter and I right away sent you that tweet and you were like, well, I don't know if this is ever gonna come to the West. And I was like, well, if it's not gonna come to the West, I'm probably gonna import it anyways, because I was hyped for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was like, I want to play this game so badly. I wish it was more fun.
Yeah,
because then I would be so into it. But the way it is, it's just
I agree with you.
It's a miss.
It's not a good game. I will say that, and the reason why I'm saying that is because there is that initial hype, because we haven't had anything in terms of Senran for a while since the director of Senran left. We didn't get any sort of updates, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was just hyped. I was like, hell yeah! When I got the press release, I had to make sure who were the people that were publishing it, because it's a very different thing. Like who's going to be in charge of main production, who's going to be in charge of publishing, because I thought, are we going to get this from Marvelous or are we going to get this from Idea Factory? And it is the case that it ended up being an Idea Factory game, which I kind of understand why the gameplay is a little bit sort of dumbed down for me personally. There's a lot of features that were missing, but at the same time there was a lot of weird inconsistencies with the game, because you expect a hack and slash game to work a certain way, and it's not like, and this is the funny thing is, the game is developed by Tamsoft, which have worked on Senran since the very beginning. So you'd think that they'd know how to make this game and at least use Senran movesets. They did to a certain degree, but it felt very odd. Like they kind of mapped special attacks to like R1, and I'm like, well, why? You can use triangle. Like there were face buttons that weren't being used, but they moved them to like the triggers and the shoulder buttons, and it didn't make much sense. And it's like, okay, they've made this game, but also Tamsoft have made the Virtual Stars, the Neptunia hack and slash game, time. And that game was amazing. So it's like, so they know how to make a Neptunia hack and slash. They clearly know how to make Senran, but the combination of the two, and this is a general hype game, and I see this game sort of doing well in the future, like getting more iterations, and I think that's probably how Senran is going to continue, because I don't think Marvelous want to even touch it at this time. But for me, it feels as though for the game series to get better, it needs to bring the stuff that made Senran Senran. Because there were just all of these weird, complicated menus, and it felt really RPG-like, which isn't a bad thing, but at the same time, it was missing customization. It was missing transformation as well, because like you play as like the Senran girls, but they're already transformed, right? I understand the reasoning because they kind of explain it through the story, because they're technically not schoolgirls in this game. Like they're like actual ninjas, which makes sense. So that it makes sense that they're in their ninja form all the time, but it just felt a bit odd. Like the gameplay didn't feel right. The maps were very odd. It kind of felt like Tokiden at a point. I was just like, this isn't a Senran game. This feels like Tokiden. This feels like almost Monster Hunter-esque. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but
it felt like anything but Senran, really.
Exactly. I could list a bunch of other games that it felt like, but it didn't feel like a Senran game. And I don't think it felt like a Nep game as well, because I've played other Neptunia games, and this wasn't it. Like, yes, in the sense that there was a lot of funny jokes, and there was a lot of, there was a lot of references to both series, don't get me wrong. But it's like, as a Senran fan, how long can you last with this sort of gameplay? And to be honest with you, I've initially, when playing the game, I only played like an hour, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to touch this for a couple of months, right?
Honestly, I felt the exact same way.
And for this episode, I actually went through and I played the rest of the game, and it is not an enjoyable experience as a Senran fan. And that's the point. I have to make that point clear, because I know that there's a lot of people that actually love this game, but at least from the community, the Senran community that I'm a part of on Twitter, and the people that I've spoken to on Twitter, they agree. This isn't a Senran game. This is a spin-off title, but it's kind of weird that spin-off titles from Marvelous feel more like a traditional Senran game than this game, right?
Yeah.
Like I play Peach Beach Splash, and I play Peach Ball, or
those I have
Bon
not
Appetit.
played.
Those are great games, by the way.
Actually, I think I have one of those, but I don't remember.
I'm not sure if you do, but
did I get a code for one of them?
No, I never got. You know what? I never got codes from Marvelous.
Maybe I bought one of those, but I can remember. I think I played one of those, but I don't know.
I think we've played PBS before, because I actually bought PBS. I think the only codes that I got from Marvelous was Estival Versus, and at least in terms of Senran, it was Estival Versus and Peach Ball. They were the only ones that I got codes for.
PBS was the one with the water guns, right?
Yeah, I think we've played PBS before.
I think I have that one, but honestly, I've never really touched it, because I just I saw how much. Let me say it like that. It has so much, and I just got discouraged right away.
Okay, no, I get you. I mean, it's a good game. Like personally, I think it was a good game. Like
the gameplay I did enjoy, but there's certain things where I see that the game has way too much to offer, and I'm like, it just discourages me, because I'm like, I'll never 100% this.
Yeah, no, you can't. I don't think you can, because there's a gacha mechanic in the game as well, and it's like this weird Senran gacha mechanic, because in every Senran game, at least until Burst Renewal,
that is true. You
did have the Panty Lottery, which is basically Panty Gacha. They say Panty Lottery, but that's the name of it. But it's basically customizable items like underwear and things like that. That would you pay 100 yen, or you pay as many yen as you'd like, or zeni, I think they call it in the game. But
yeah, zeni.
You pay X amount of zeni, and then you get capsules. It was a gachapon game. That's basically what it was. It was quite funny. It was quite interesting, but it introduced gacha, which I thought was very interesting, because there was a gacha mechanic in the game that you can actually use with in-game currency. Like you didn't need to buy currency outside of that and use it kind of like Genshin or other gacha games. But it was just very interesting, the fact that existed, right? But anyway, so with those kind of games, even those spin-off games felt more Senran Kagura than Ninja Wars, right? Ninja Wars felt as though these were Senran Kagura characters making a cameo. The fact that they were there doesn't mean that you should call this game
a Senran game.
It's not. It's genuine. It's not a Senran game. And many people might be thinking, well, Bish, you're being a bit too harsh here. I'm not. I'm just being a bit honest here because at the end of the day, I think a lot of Senran fans were disappointed with it.
You can't even say like you're being a bit harsh here because like I feel the exact same way, and I feel like to say like, oh, you'd be too harsh, you need to play this game before you tell Bish that he's too harsh. Because I agree with him, I'm not gonna lie.
There was a lot of things that were missing, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, I get that they can't put everything into this game, but the gameplay at least should have been Senran Kagura-esque. Even if you were gonna remove the transformation scenes, right? You should have at least used the same movesets, used the same attacks. I don't understand why you had to put everything to shoulder buttons. Just literally make this an actual hack and slash game. And they marketed it as such. They marketed it as like an action RPG, but it felt odd. Like, you don't want to see Senran characters.
To me, it felt honestly, it felt more like you're one character in a battle full of enemies.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me all the time. It was not really like, because like if I think of hack and slash, I think of like, okay, you know, like not to name drop, but Dynasty Warriors, like 1 versus 1,000, like 1 man versus 1,000 man. And it felt like very like wide, like you can roam areas and stuff, but like with that game, it was like you were stuck in like a super tiny area, right? And that's what I didn't like because it was like, why are you putting me in this like little fucking bubble? Like it doesn't make sense to me.
In all fairness, I will say this, Senran does also do that to a certain degree, but they do give you a lot more space. Like, for example, in Senran, once you've completed a certain task and you go on to the next part of the map, it blocks you off. Like if you're in a battle, it blocks both sides for you.
I mean, yeah, it's literally just like Super Mario.
Yeah, I understand that, but with this game, like the maps are so small. Like
They're super fucking small.
It's weird. Like it reminds me of, you know, there was that mission in Dynasty Warriors, like either 4 or 5, where it was like Guan Yu he was retreating from like Cao Cao or something like that, and it was like this really small linear map. Like literally the map was a straight line. I don't know if you remember it. It was like the one that had the music. You know that one?
I don't know if it was 4 or 5.
It was one of the games, but they had like this really small linear map.
For me personally, it felt like 4 with the arena 1-on-1 matches. Like that, but like instead of just facing one, you face multiple enemies. Not as hard, but
the combat wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
Like even then, as you mentioned, the game is not difficult as well. Like it's pretty simple and it's pretty like dumbed down. I don't know what the reason that was. It makes me think that it's either the fact that this game wasn't intended for Senran fans and that Idea Factory and Marvelous knew that, oh, you know what, we slap Senran, people will buy it anyway. Or it's the same with like Nep. Like I'm not sure if Nep fans actually enjoyed this game. You could slap a Nep title on anything and people will buy it. I'm not trying to be offensive to Neptunia fans. I'm just saying that's the case because I know how it is. You want to support all of the games in the series that you love, even if it's dog shit. That's why I was prepared. Like when Jacob said that he wanted to import it, I was also willing to import this game. Like as soon as I heard this game was existing, I wanted to support it because my logic was, if we support this game, we might get more Senran, right? It kind of felt like this whole...
Was it Warriors Orochi?
Yeah, it's kind of like with Warriors Orochi, right? Where Chin back in the day was like, if you want this game, you need to tell us and you need to support it, right? Like if you didn't support it back then, there was no chance that we were going to get any other Orochi games, right? So it's that sort of feeling. Like you kind of felt as though you needed to support it as a Senran fan, and I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that we're doing this coverage now, but it's also good that we're having this conversation because at the end of the day, it wasn't a game that was enjoyable to the Senran community, and I really want to know from you guys. We're going to put a poll on Spotify just so you guys know, are we going to, like, do you guys enjoy this game? What is your favorite Senran game and things like that? We're going to go on another ad break, but we're going to talk about the future of Senran and what we expect to see in the future, as well as talk about what happens after Takaki-san left Marvelous. Okay, we'll be back in a moment. Right before we get into the ads, I want to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page where you can support us directly for only £5 a month. It means that you don't need to listen to ads like this, as amazing as they are. It's a no-brainer. You get early access to our show as well as ad-free content for all of the podcasts that we do. Or if you decided, well, I might go for a one-time donation, you could do so on our coffee page. That's coffee.com/Get a Life Podcast. That's ko-fi.com/Get a Life Podcast. Our Patreon is patreon.com/Get a Life Podcast. Also, consider subscribing to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening to, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, even on YouTube. Subscribing is free. It also means that you keep up to date with the content that we do post for all of our podcasts. If you do leave a like on YouTube, or if you give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platforms, it really does help us get up in the rankings. It really does help us get more sponsorships. It helps us out a lot. You don't know how much that actually helps us. So consider leaving us a positive review, telling us all your thoughts as well, and stuff that we can improve on. Really does help me out a lot as well. Gives me a motivation. So subscribe, consider leaving a 5-star review or a comment if you're on YouTube, and enjoy the ad break and the rest of this episode. Have you ever thought, hey, I'm really into Japanese snacks and Japanese otaku goods? Well, you know what? Get yourself over to Sugoi Mart by Japan Crate. Sugoi Mart, we love them. We love Japan Crate, by the way. We've spoken about Japan Crate on the podcast before, but you know what? We've leveled up our partnership with them and our sponsorship to a Sugoi Mart one, because I wanted you guys to experience a lot more of what Japan Crate has to offer through Sugoi Mart. It's not always about snacks, guys. You can buy a lot of Japanese goods directly from Sugoi Mart, and it's fantastic service there, I will say this. You got your lucky bags. If you're really into anime, you could get Sugoi Mart lucky bags for over $100 value for only £40, right? £40. Incredibly cheap. So you're getting $100 worth of stuff for $50. That's including snacks and other goods. If you decide to go for the lucky bags, and to be honest with you, those lucky bags, you can check them out on our page, because Sugoi Mart moving forward, we're going to be showcasing the Sugoi Mart products on their site, and we're going to be showing you guys really cool, weird and wonderful stuff from Japan. We're going to be curating stuff directly there. If you like it, buy it. And you know what? Use our link, getalifepodcast.com/Sugoi. That's getalifepodcast.com/SUGOI. We'll take you to our Sugoi Mart page, and you can use our code GALP. That's GALP for 15% off your order. That's insane, guys. 15% off. We all know that collectibles and things from Japan can be very expensive, so 15% off, that's pretty decent. They've got some really lovely stuff on their site, stuff from Spy Family. They've got a lot of Sanrio stuff as well, a lot of anime things, a lot of Genshin stuff. If you're really into Genshin, they got it, as well as some brands from Japan, snacks from Japan as well. They've got a lot of One Piece stuff if you're into One Piece. They've got stuff from Muji. They've got stuff from Disneyland. They've got stuff from Universal Studios Japan, in addition to Starbucks and Studio Ghibli. Stuff that you really can't find anywhere else, I'll be honest with you. So once again, check out Sugoi Mart. It supports the show when you do. We love them. They love us. And I'm pretty sure you'll love them too. So that's getalifepodcast.com/Sugoi. Use the code GALP for 15% off. Anyway, back onto the episode. Jacob, we are back. How are you?
I'm good. I want to ask you about your favorite Senran character.
My favorite characters. Okay, that's interesting.
Is it Asuka?
Asuka originally was one of my favorites because she's the main character and she's like the first character that I've ever played.
Yeah.
I did mention it on the podcast before. When I went to Marvelous, I asked, can I get some shit from them? And they were like, no, you can't. Basically, they had this huge thing because they went to Gamescom a few years back and they went to like MCM Expo, and they had this massive banner. Like, it's literally huge. Like, it's like it can cover the side of a bus. Like, that's how big it is. And they have it in their they had it in their office. I'm not sure if they have it in their office anymore, but they had it in their office, and it's like this massive Senran like cloth poster, and I fucking wanted to take it. And I took a selfie with Hibari. Hibari is like literally one of my favorite characters.
Oh, her.
The girl with the pink hair, and she has a little rabbit. She's also, I think Yagyu is like in love with Hibari as well. So Yagyu is also really great. I mean, to be honest, all of the Hanzo Academy characters are fantastic. There isn't one character in Senran that I'm not a fan of. Like, I love all of the characters in Senran. Like, I will say this, although one character does kind of annoy me a little bit, and that is Katsuragi. But that's also because Katsuragi is a bit of a pervert. Like, I can't handle Katsuragi's
I
character.
love Katsuragi.
Yeah, but why does Katsuragi want to, like, fondle people? It's weird. I'm not a fan. Like, it kind of caught me off guard when you see Katsuragi, like, with her hands just, like, moving around and shit. I'm like, Katsuragi, just fucking chill. Just... Oh, shit, that was the wrong one. I want to... No! The soundboards. The soundboard isn't working quite well. I have to switch. I wanted to do this. So, Katsuragi.
Daddy, chill.
There you go.
Oh my god.
That's what I wanted to do. But no, seriously.
Katsuragi, chill.
Katsuragi, chill. Like, seriously, Katsuragi needed to chill the fuck out, okay? I wasn't expecting it from that game. But no, seriously, Hibari is one of my favorite characters, and I'm so glad that Hibari actually got, like, a cameo in Karagawa Jet Girls as well, so I was happy about that.
I didn't know she did. I've never played that game.
There was, because actually that was like one of the last games that Marvelous actually gave us code for, other than Corpse Party. But Jet Girls was really nice in the sense that it's obviously made by Honey Parade. They used the same sort of character models, so they brought the Senran characters in as DLC. So I think it was mainly like the main characters. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been all of the characters actually, like all of the main cast of characters. So, but yeah, no, they were really fantastic characters. I mean, each character had their own sort of story behind it. And I don't know, like even like Yagyu as well, you know, she has such a depressing story, right? She used to have a little sister. Her sister died in a car accident. And it's like...
Yeah, you're so right. That's so cool.
Oh, no, shit. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it's like, oh, it's cool that her sister died. No, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
What the fuck?
No, I didn't mean it like that. What I meant was... It's cool that they actually got a serious backstory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an actual, like when I heard about Yagyu's story, okay, at first glance you think, why is Yagyu like always trying to protect Hibari? But then you realize it's because Hibari looks like her sister. So she's trying to sort of defend her sister. She doesn't want her sister to go again, if that makes sense. A bit odd that she is attracted to her, even though that she does look like the sister, but that's a different issue. But it's the fact that she's there as that sort of big sister figure to Hibari, and like you wouldn't see that at first glance. You just think, oh, she's just attracted to her. But it's stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of characters that have this level of story, right? I don't know, like even Asuka, the fact that her whole family were ninjas, right?
Yeah.
And she's kind of passed that down from her, like her weapons are from her grandfather. So it's very interesting. Like there's that level.
Honestly, if you think Katsuragi's a pervert, you have to think about her granddad, Asuka's granddad, because he's the biggest pervert.
He is so perverted.
He literally goes for Asuka's tits. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's your fucking...
That's one thing that I will say is a bit too much for Senran.
It's
like,
a granddaughter.
Daddy, chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, daddy chill.
That is a
granddaddy chill.
Granddaddy chill. No, seriously, it's a bit fucked up. I will admit that. Like, if you remove that element from the game, great. I would love that. I'm not saying don't remove it. That needs to be removed because it's a bit odd. The fact that the granddad's a bit pervy. Like, we don't need to see that. And to be honest with you, that the granddad shouldn't really get that much time anyway, to be fair, because he's not a playable character or anything like that. I think he should just get like a callback every once in a while. Although, I think her grandma is a playable character in Estival, no?
I think so. Yeah, the younger form, I think.
Sayuri, aka Jasmine, Hanzo's wife.
it's her younger form, I think, right?
Yeah, no, it's the same character though. It's like it's literally...
Yeah, I know, just her younger form, right?
No, you can play as the old lady as well.
I forget.
So basically, her name is Sayuri. So she is playable as the old lady, but when she does her Shinobi transformation, she transforms into the younger form.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I remember now.
It is interesting in that sense, like in terms of the characters. What is your favorite? Okay, before we get into it, who is your favorite character and what's your favorite school? Because for me, it is the Hanzo Academy is my favorite.
I don't know if I have two favorite characters or just one. My two favorite characters are Mirai, and Yumi.
Okay, which one's Yumi again? I get confused.
She's the
Ice Queen.
Yeah. I think it might actually be Mirai anyways.
I'm trying to think. Are we talking about Yumi or Yomi?
Yumi, the Ice Queen, yeah,
Okay.
as you mentioned.
The Ice Queen. Yeah, no, she's cool. I love Yumi. I love her
Part
her
of
moveset as well.
part,
It's really good.
part of why I love her is just like her elegant moveset, and also the fact that like she's voiced by one of my all-time favorite voice actresses,
Ooh,
Yumi Hara,
okay.
who also voices Takane in Idolmaster. Was also my favorite character. How random, right?
Yeah.
And I think the first time I saw Mirai was like, I was like, yeah, you know what? I fuck with this girl. Like she's so cool.
She is
Like
such a cool character. And you know what?
she is.
Her moveset is really unique as well because obviously she's using a fucking gun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like also like she's like one of the few. Is she like a, what do you call it? A Chunie? Would you say she's a Chunie?
What the
Chunie
hell's that?
Bio?
Oh yeah, no, she is. She's definitely a Chunibyo.
She's one of the few Chunies that I actually like because like you can actually get what she's talking about. She's like not completely like in her head. Like she has her own fantasy, of course, but like she's like you still understand what she's saying. So
No, Mirai is a fantastic character. I really do like Mirai. Like even her backstory is very interesting. Like it kind of feels as though she wants to be like Yagyu. Like it kind of feels like she's cosplaying as fucking
I
Yagyu.
mean they're rivals, so
Yeah, I know, but they both have umbrellas, and she has the eye patch on the other side, on the other eye. So it's like, is she doing it to be like, senpai, notice me, or like,
well no.
I don't know.
She had this style before she met Yagyu,
Oh,
so
was it? Okay.
yeah, like this is the thing, like I don't think they were like modeled after one another. They literally just like they just look like that, you know?
Okay. All right.
Because I also don't think that what's her name? Oh my god, what's the one called from the same school as Mirai, the blonde girl?
I thought you were talking about Homura, because Homura literally
No,
looks like Asuka. Which one is she? The blonde one.
the
Ooh,
blonde one with the
Haruka?
no, that's no, I mean like the one in green.
Yomi?
Is Yumi her name?
The one that cooks, right?
Yeah,
I like to cook.
yeah. Oh my god, I like the girl. I know exactly what you're referencing.
I like to cook. No, but no, her story's fucked up as well. The reason she likes to cook is because her parents died of malnutrition. See, this is the thing with Senran. The stories actually are
The stories are
meaningful.
really tragic, yeah.
They're tragic and they're actually meaningful, but the problem is a lot of people don't give it a fucking chance.
Yeah.
Okay? No, but seriously. What were you
But
saying
yeah, I
about
was
Yomi?
saying like, oh, like if like Mirai was like modeled after, or like was like looking at Yagyu for inspiration or whatever, why would Yomi choose? Oh my god, I keep forgetting these names.
It's been so long since we played Senran.
The girl in the uniform from Asuka School,
Well, they all wear fucking uniforms.
the one with the katana.
Oh, Ikagura?
Can you say her name again? Ikaruga.
Yeah, Ikaruga. Oh shit. I always thought her name was Ikagura, but yeah. Ikaruga.
Because like she's rich and Yomi is like, this is not supposed to sound mean, but like she's piss poor.
Yeah, no, that's the
So
whole
like
point. Yeah,
why
she is.
like why would she like like model her? I feel like if they would model themselves after the good girls, they would all do it. Like they would be in unison. So like why would Mirai do that? Just like to prove your point about her, s- her saying like, oh, I'm gonna be just like Yagyu, like notice me senpai. No, that's not it.
You have to ruin my point. What's that about?
I think it's also the fact that like Mirai has like she just like it feels like she can't get along with the fact that Yakuyu does probably not care about her as much as Mirai would like her to. So maybe it is a bit of a notice me thing, but like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna dress
But they're
like her.
rivals, I guess, and obviously she is technically the youngest one, so
Yeah, she's not being taken seriously.
no,
maybe.
she isn't. No, which is true. She isn't being taken seriously because they do make fun of her. And the funny thing is that the way Mirai is, and the reason why Mirai is so tough, is because she's been bullied, like severe. Like you learn that through the stories.
Exactly.
Right? So there is like so much character development that people don't necessarily see, and you won't see it unless you actually go past all of the etchiness, right? Which
Yeah.
it makes sense, and this is the problem. I think one of the reasons why maybe Senran, and this goes on to what I was going to say, leads on to the point of what is the future of Senran. Because we had a little bit of a discussion before, like at the moment, the actual main Senran title is New Link, which is the gacha game. Jacob, you didn't know that game was still existing.
Like I played this game before, right? Like I have played it, was it 2019 or something. I wanted to play it because I was curious about it. I'm gonna lie, I was like, so I played it, and it's actually kind of fun. It's got the usual, customizations, but you have to rely on the gacha system for that, so I guess that kind of sucks. But yeah, I also like saw that you could like play it on PC on like the DMM player, which is like a platform where you can like it doesn't have like every single mobile game, but there's like certain mobile games that you can play on that as well. So it's literally you play it, you download the player on PC, and then you can play those games on PC as well.
I think Token Rambu is also playable on DMM, isn't it?
Probably,
Yeah, 'cause
probably, but I think that I mixed up. I don't know if it's still playable as in Senran Kagura, if it's still playable on DMM, but I remember like trying to play it on DMM and I kept getting a notification about service having been ended, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then I kept seeing like I had one friend who would keep playing it, and I was like I saw it in their Discord, and I'm like, how the fuck are you playing this game if like service ended? And I never really paid it much mind. And then it was just like I guess I just forgot about it, and then you brought it up, and I was like, wait, he's right. This game is still going on. That is so strange. I didn't know about this. Like I thought it died.
Like the funny thing is, like the reason why it's still sustainable as a title is because the amount of crossovers that they do is fucking insane. Like I'm looking at the list now. They did an SNK series crossover. They got My Shiranyu,
DOA.
DOA. They have Cooler Diamond from game was it?
That was King of Fighter.
King of Fighters. So they got High School DxD.
They also had Gantz, I think. Is it Gantz?
Yeah. They did that as well. Ike Tosen and Samurai Girls. There was so much shit that, and I think even now they're doing. I'm being serious. There's so much shit in that game. There's so much content. It's fucking unreal. Like they're even doing stuff with MiHoYo now. Like it's mad. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Genshin crossover.
I would be, honestly.
No, I think that's where they're going at. Because they're doing it with another MiHoYo game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some level of Genshin.
I don't know if they would do it for Genshin. I can see him doing it for like Honkai maybe, but like,
yeah, maybe
for
Honkai,
Genshin, I don't know.
Maybe Honkai.
Like maximum skins or something, or like gliders, but I don't see a Genshin thing. Because here's the thing, like Genshin, with it being like so big, I feel like it's playable for everyone, right? Even like also children, pretty much. And it's like inclusive of like a lot of groups of people, including children. Once again, like you have all these children characters. Like you got fucking Timmy and that fucking all those children in that game, and it's like if they have children, why wouldn't they? Okay, I guess I can argue with that because Cyberpunk 2077 is also not for children. Definitely not. But that also does not really have a childish aesthetic.
Okay. No, I know what you mean. But I'd still think that that's in the cards for them.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not out of the question.
I just wouldn't. I would not think that it would come to Genshin. If it does, great. But I don't see it for Genshin. I see it for Honkai.
Okay.
Honkai Impact.
Interesting.
Third, the one that's like the fighting game, not the RPG that's coming up.
But that being said, it's very interesting that you mentioned that whole thing because I want to go over why Takaki-san left Marvelous. It's such a difficult name to pronounce. My apologies.
It's not. It's Takaki.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't pronounce Japanese names.
I'm sorry.
Because I get confused between him and Tadaki-san. There was one guy, I think it's Itadaki. What's his name? Itadaki or Tadaki? I can't remember. But there's this guy that worked for Team Ninja that I keep on getting his name confused with. Was it Ibaraki? I can't remember. Ibaraki, no, I think that's a character from MHA. Anyway, that's not the point.
Wasn't it like Itagaki or something?
Yeah, something like that. Like he got fired from anyway. But that's not the point. So we're talking about Takaki. Is that his name?
Kenichiro Takaki?
Yeah, Takaki. Takaki-san, he left Marvelous because of the change of direction when it comes to modern game releases outside of Japan. So this is the bit, I think, of the episode that maybe some fans want to know about what's going on with that. He basically left because of censorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing I never understood because obviously Peach Ball was released on Switch. Reflections was released on Switch.
Oh my god, Reflections. Have you ever played that?
I have. It's a decent game, but it's not really a game.
I've never played it, but
like
I feel like
demo.
if I did, I would feel like me personally. I think I would feel kind of weird about it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not for everyone, but it's mostly for me. I think the reason why Marvelous made it was, and this is my theory, because Takaki left because Sony basically were like, hey, you can't be having these titty games around. Like, that's the main reason, right? And he didn't want to censor Senran. But it doesn't make sense to me that he decided to leave Marvelous because of it. You see what I'm saying? Unless Marvelous agreed with that and Marvelous was like, no, we can't continue this series the way that it is. That's what makes me think what went on. I think his official statement sort of mentioned Sony. I don't think it necessarily mentioned Marvelous. So I think Marvelous was like, hey, look, we can't continue the game the way that, you know, we wanted to. And then he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna leave. And now he's at Psy Games now, I think. So he's working on...
is he?
Yeah, he's working on Grand Blue Fantasy.
That's cool.
The new action RPG game that's coming out. And he's worked on Versus as well.
Oh, nice.
So he's working in close ties with Marvelous as well, because he has come back for... He came back for Uppers. He came back for...
Uppers. Oh my god.
Burst Renewal. And I think he also came back for Jet Girls. So he was still working with Marvelous very closely. And the fact that he works at Psy Games, well, most people don't know this, but Marvelous actually publishes a lot of they publish Psy Games games, if that makes sense, at least in Europe and overseas, with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So the point being is that I'm guessing that they were like, look, we can't do Shinobi transformations anymore. We probably can't do a lot of this etchiness and these references we have to remove from the game. And that makes sense because even if you look at Ninja, they don't have any of that. They don't have Panty Lottery. They don't have even ninja transformations or anything like that. And even if you play Burst Renewal, there is no ninja transformation. It just you just transform, right? You do this sort of explosion type attack and then you just transform. There is no transformation sequence. It's in the same way as if, you know, because you can actually turn off transformation sequence in Estival and in Shinobi. Yeah. It's kind of like that. So it's as if you've turned it off, right? Even those games didn't have Panty Lottery either. Like Burst Renewal didn't have that or anything like that. So it was kind of bare bones. Like if you pay Burst Renewal, you kind of see that. You kind of see that's probably what Marvelous may have done. And then I think Takaki-san decided, well, this is not the way I want Senran to be. And I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or anything, but looking at the statement, it kind of felt like that. But I think it was a poor decision to make because, here's my theory, Jacob. I think the real reason that Peach Ball exists and the real reason that Reflections exist is because they're kind of tech demos. And hear me out. So, as you know, Senran is a game series that started off on Nintendo platforms. Made its way to PlayStation. Now it's on the PC. So I think the best way to play Senran is on PC now, because obviously it's very difficult to find those games.
Definitely.
And you know what? Sony fucked over Marvelous in a certain way. And I don't know if it's got anything to do with Marvelous, but you can't play Senran on the PS5. It prevents you from playing it. And, well, it doesn't necessarily prevent you from playing it, but basically when you play Senran, Estival Versus, or Peach Beach Splash, character models don't appear on screen, and you get a lot of glitches. So it's not one of the games it's not officially supported for PS5. And I don't know if it's because of Sony or if it's because of Marvelous not wanting to support it, because Burst Renewal is officially supported on PS5 and that works perfectly fine. So it makes me think that maybe Marvelous wants to distance themselves from their older titles, which is a bit unfortunate. But this is the point. So the fact that these games are on Switch makes me feel as though they were testing things out. Because if you've ever played Reflections, it's a very small game and it's mainly got to do with the Joy-Cons. Like it relies on Joy-Con play because it uses HD Rumble a lot. So I'm like, okay, why is Marvelous interested in HD Rumble? And same with Peach Ball, right? The fact that Peach Ball exists, it makes me think as though they're trying to run a game that uses the Senran new character models, and they've done it really well. Right? Runs really well on 1080p. There's no slowdown or anything like that. The fact that they also released, what other game was it? The Fate games. What was it called? Was it Umbral Star and Extella Link? Like those games are on the Switch, right? And it's essentially, it's also a hack and slash game, right? So the fact that that game can run really well on Switch also makes me think that
I have played the PS4 and Switch versions, and it definitely doesn't run as smoothly, but it runs fine. It's it runs Switch limitations.
Yeah, Switch does have limitations. I will not dispute that. But at the end of the day, if it can run Extella Link, which in my opinion is a more demanding game than Senran, like let's be real, Senran ran on a PlayStation Vita. I'm pretty sure it can run on Switch, and at least with some level of optimization. It makes me think that that was probably where Marvelous were going for. Do you see what I mean? Like the fact that even Ninja plays on the Switch, right? So that's not the point. The point is the fact that these games made its way to Switch made me think that Marvelous were probably thinking we could release Senran on Switch and have that as a Switch exclusive. And I don't think Nintendo would be upset with it because there's games that are way, way more ecchi on Nintendo platforms. Right, you know, there's can't remember what it's called, but there's like games in which like I can't remember, but there's a lot of ecchi games and like stuff on the Switch more so than Senran. So it makes me feel as though that's what Marvelous were preparing for, like a switch over, if that makes sense, like having Switch and PC release instead of PS4. And to be honest with you, if Marvelous ever decided to do that, I'd be down for it because I'd rather get Senran on Switch and PC instead of getting no Senran game or a game that is heavily limited on the PlayStation 4. So that's just my personal opinion. I think at the same time as well, what may have happened, I'm not quite sure. But I think at the same time, like Marvelous has completely changed their opinion on Senran. Like even if you look at Marvelous Europe, for example, they've done like a 180. I don't know what's gone on with them because I don't know if you know about the Discord drama. Do you know about that?
I think you told me, but I don't know.
So for those that don't know, I used to be part of the Marvelous Europe Discord, and I left after this whole drama happened because I wasn't too happy with it. But basically what had happened was there was a lot of stuff going on in the server, and in all fairness, a lot of the people, they had like an NFC, well, it's not necessarily not safe for work, but they had a fan art channel, right, where people would post fan art, which is fair enough. None of it I think was inherently like sexual. I think it was like official art from the game that people were sharing, you know, like the new Link art and stuff like that, which is a little bit ecchi, don't get me wrong. So people were sharing that in the fan art channels and stuff, and people were mainly using it to find people to play with. So they basically had like a Senran Peach Beach, because it doesn't have proper matchmaking in these Senran games, so you actually have to find friends to play with because there's not that many people playing. So people would go up together and be like, okay guys, on Friday we're going to be playing a round of Peach Beach Splash, we're going to do a tournament. People would arrange that in the Discord, which I think that was the main point of the Discord, right? And they'd have it for all the different Marvelous games. I think what had happened was that Marvelous was kind of switching more between games like Sakuna. There's a game called Sakuna of Rice and Ruin.
Oh yeah, that one.
That we didn't get a code for, but it was a game that got really good reviews, and then obviously Story of Seasons was coming out as well. So I have a feeling that Marvelous was like, hey, look, we need to sort of tone down what's going on in the Discord because we're going to get a lot more people joining, possibly fans of Sakuna and probably fans of Sakuna, not to refer to Sakuna from Jujutsu Kaisen, by the way, but fans of Sakuna and also fans of Story of Seasons, especially Story of Seasons. A lot of the fans are quite young. So I'm guessing that they wanted to sort of nuke the Discord server, which they did. They were like, guys, they just sent a message, guys, we're going to be removing the server in a week or in 2 weeks. They gave them like literally 2 weeks to like remove the Discord server, and people were panicking and people were like really upset because it's like, this is the only way that we can get to play these games, because how the fuck are we going to communicate with one another? You know what I mean? To actually arrange game nights. Yeah. And people were really upset by that, and it was just a shitstorm on Twitter, like people like complaining and all sorts. And then in the end, what they ended up doing was they were like, guys, okay, we decided not to remove the server, but we're going to rename it and we're going to give ownership to the mods. So they did that. But it's funny because Xseed server is exactly the same. Like the Marvelous Europe server at the time and the Xseed server were the same server. They were just duplicate servers. And you had the same people posting on each server. Obviously, ones were Americans and the others were Europeans. But how come it wasn't an issue with Xseed? Like, this is the thing that I don't necessarily understand. It makes me think that Marvelous as a company is trying to go away from the anime titles. And you see that with a lot of their press releases now. Like, they don't want to talk about anime games. Like, if I went up to them and asked them, hey, can we talk about Senran? They'll be like, no. I haven't asked them about Senran, but it feels though that no one wants to have a discussion around Senran, especially Senran 7 Even, which was a game that was supposed to come out and a game that was in development.
I think it's just called 7.
Well, yeah, I say 7 Even because there's a 7 and even next to it. But yeah, it's supposed to be, Senran Kagura 7. So that game was supposed to come out. That game was in development. And I don't know what's happening with it because Takaki-san used to tweet, yes, development is going okay. Obviously, he's left now. So people will be like, well, what's happening to 7? The reason why I was excited for Nin Nin Ninja was because I thought, okay, if Nin Nin Ninja gets a lot of support, if people support Marvelous with that, then we might see 7 return. And it upsets me. I know I get really emotional. I kind of also get like to the point of tears and to the point of like getting really upset. I know it sounds really dramatic, but
not the first Senran, I wouldn't.
I mean, like for me, I get upset when a series dies, even if it's a series that I
That is
don't
relatable. Yeah.
like. Even if it's a series I don't like if it dies and it doesn't get a good ending, you know what I mean? If Senran just died to the point where they were like, this is our final game and we're gonna make it the best Senran game we can, I'd find that as an acceptable way of ending the series, right? Like it's kind of like if Dynasty Warriors ended on Dynasty Warriors 9. I would not be happy with that. It would ruin the series for me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing, like part of me doesn't want to go back and play any of the Senran games because I get really emotional because it's like, I know I'm playing a relic. I'm playing a game that doesn't...
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing that I'm going to be talking about when we do our Sengoku Basara series. Like, I actually get really upset when I'm playing that game now.
Oh my god.
Because I realize we're not going to get more of them. And I'm like, no. Like, do you see what I'm saying? So it's the same with Senran for me. Like, knowing that most likely we're not going to get any future Senran games. And even if we do, it's not going to be the games that we wanted to get. You know, it might be more of Nin Nin Ninja. And I don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes me think, and this is a question I have for you. Are there still opportunities for this sort of game outside of Japan? Because I think there is, Jacob. Because guess what? There's a game that's coming out by D3 publisher called Samurai Maidens. And someone literally on the YouTube channel, like the top comment is, hey, this is Senran Kagura, but less ecchi. Like, I think there's still places for these kind of games.
Of course, this is just my opinion. I do not think that Senran Kagura is dead in the West. I mean, it's definitely not dead in Japan, but yeah, I'm not gonna lay my hand into the fire and say, hey, Senran Kagura is not coming back in the West. We don't know about this. Maybe it's really coming back eventually.
Why do you
Are we
think
gonna
that?
see it sometime soon? We don't know. I don't know. I do want to see it back. To be fair, there's like certain things in Senran that I don't care about, but what I do care about is good gameplay.
Yeah.
If the gameplay is anything like that Neptunia game, I kind of don't care for it. And I really want like I want a new installment in the S Devil and Shinobi versus series, because to me, you can tell me what you want. I don't know if Peach Beach Splash or whatever it's called, and those other water beach games, I don't see them as a spiritual successor.
No, they're
just
not.
because like
They're not designed
exactly.
to be anyway. They're
Exactly.
spin-off
And
games.
that's why I'm saying I would love to see a new game in the Shinobi and SL Versus series, because as much as like I love the main series, don't get me wrong, I just want to see that series more. I want to see those two other schools back. I want to see everything, you know. And if there's like new characters, I want to see, I don't know if you know, but like Ikaruga,
Yeah.
she has a brother, and
Oh,
he's
wow.
playable in Senran Kagura 2 on 3DS. And
So is he like the only male character in Senran Kagura
yeah,
series? See, that's
well,
the
the
thing
only playable male one. Yeah, the other ones are like,
that's another thing that I'd like to see, because I think Marvelous, because they could bring back Senran, and I think they need to make some real changes, like for it to be more acceptable in the West, like maybe tone down the etchiness. I still want to see Shinobi transformations. That's not like, I still want to see it because it's a cool feature to have, right? Especially with the costumes and things like that. So I still want to see that, but tone down on the dirty jokes, I think. Tone down on the level of etchiness. And what I think would be very interesting is, as you said, maybe introducing some male characters as well. So like, that would be quite interesting to see in the Senran universe. In a way, I also want to maybe play as Hanzo in his like old time. Do you know what I mean? Not like per granddad Hanzo, but like Hanzo in his youth. Like, how did he start? Like, that's
like
something
if Sayuri can get the same thing, why shouldn't he?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Or maybe like like a game set in the past with these characters as well, because I know that there's a lot of references to old Shinobi. So it's like, how come we don't get a Senran game that has, or maybe 7 was like that, like maybe a game that has 2 different storylines, like one that's telling the story of how the Hanzo Academy was formed, and then going back in time. Like that, something like that would be very interesting, because then obviously you have opportunities to play as other characters, introduce characters. There's some characters that are in New Link that are brand new characters that we've never seen before. But also at the same time, imagine the crossovers you can do. Yes, DOA, but at the same time, SNK, you could do Iki Tosen as well. There's so many different, like, if they really wanted to, they could do a Muso crossover like Natora E.
You know who I want to see in a playable character?
Who?
Kiriya. Do you remember who that is?
Who is that?
That's the teacher of Asuka and her group.
Oh, I know who you're talking
The
about.
white hair guy.
Yeah,
the teacher.
yeah. He's in PBS, by the way.
He's so hot.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think we also need to see like a level of male fan service as well in the
Wait,
game.
I just realized who he reminds me of. I think we talked about them like 2 years ago. That one British TV host, what's his name? Louis?
Who? Louis?
Is his name Louis?
I don't know who the
What's
hell you're
his
talking about.
name? The British TV host.
But there's a lot of British TV hosts.
The one who like has this like good morning show with the blonde woman, and they have
Oh,
like
his name
this
is not
like
Louis. I know who you're talking about. His name is not Louis. What is his name? He's he's like a British treasure at this point.
and you told me like, oh, like yeah, he came out as gay and
He
stuff.
did recently. What's his name? I know his co-host is Holly Willoughby. What is his name? Philip Schofield. That's it.
Yeah,
He's
he kind of reminds me of him.
Imagine Philip Schofield. You know what?
He's the English voice actor.
Yes, hell yeah.
Kiria is British.
Kiryu is British. He's Philip Schofield. Philip Schofield as a playable character in Senran Kagura.
Why
would
did
be
I think his
fucking
name was
amazing.
Louis?
I don't know.
Probably because of the X Factor judge.
Yeah, probably. Well, he's Irish.
Yeah, whatever. His name is Louis.
His name is Louis. That might have been the confusion. Although Philip Schofield is way hotter than Louis Walsh. Let's be real. Louis Walsh looks like he's really old and decrepit. I'm being honest.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I hope you're not gonna put this into the
I
episode,
am. Well,
but
fuck
like
Louis Walsh. I don't like him.
Philip is hot.
Philip is hot. Philip Schofield, if you're listening,
I would be down bad for him if I met him. Probably.
he's so attractive. Let's be real.
He is.
And he
you
has
know,
a-
he
he-
takes care of himself.
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
that.
How old is he? Let's see. He's a silver fox for sure. But how old is he? He is.
Silver
he,
fox.
he is a silver fox. He's 60 years old. He does not look 60 at all. He's the UK's treasure, Philip Schofield. We love him. We stand Philip Schofield.
We do. Slay.
So like, exactly. He needs to be the next playable character in Senran Kagura.
Oh my god,
Philip
yes.
Schofield.
He's gonna
guys,
voice Kiria.
Philip Schofield here. He does adverts in the UK as well. He has such a soothing voice.
I mean, I bet.
I love him. Philip Schofield, we love you. Philip, if you want to ever come on the podcast and talk about what games you like to play, this is an open invitation.
Listen, if you hear this, I love you. You're so cool.
I love him as well. He's just such a good guy.
I'm not even British.
I'm not even British.
I know you. I'm not even British.
Do you watch? Well, that's the question. Do you watch Good Morning? Was it Good Morning Britain that he's on or whatever?
Well, we don't have that over here, but like I do enjoy like their YouTube videos.
Oh, okay. So I forgot about that. They have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, like they post a bunch of stuff sometimes, and sometimes I watch it because I just love watching them. They're so funny. Like they're like perfect.
They are a great on air couple, 100%. Like I fucking love them. Like
and the chef.
The chef, the Italian guy. Oh,
So funny.
Is his name Gino? I think his name is Gino.
I think so, yeah.
When he's talking about past, yeah, he gets really annoyed, which
He's
I
really
love.
passionate about food.
He's
I
very
love
passionate. I've been watching him from back in the day. He used to be on a show called Saturday Kitchen. Me and my mum used to watch it every Saturday morning, where it was just like this cooking show that was live on the Saturday. And he's one of my mum's favorite celebrity chefs. So shout out to Gino. We were talking about
Shout out to the
Senran.
British people.
Shout out to the British people. But yeah, no, shout out to them. And I think that was a good place to end the episode, genuinely.
Thank you.
Philip Schofield, always an excellent way to end an episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, we love Philip Schofield. Tell us if you
We
love Philip
do.
Schofield as well, okay? Because genuinely, we love him.
This is this episode's poll on Spotify.
That's what
Do
it
you
is.
love him as well?
Do you love Philip Schofield? Forget about the Senran poll. We don't give a
Fuck
shit about
Senran.
fuck
Talk
Senran.
us-
Do
let's
you
talk
love
about
Philip
him.
Schofield? Tell us, and we'll discuss it on the next episode of the podcast. This is just an ongoing thing. We just love Philip Schofield. You know what, Jacob? That's the meme. We're gonna bring this into existence. Philip Schofield is gonna be on this podcast. We're gonna get him
I love
on.
that.
We're gonna try our best.
You're gonna have to invite me for that.
Yeah, 100%. But you have to be in person.
Oh,
That's the rule.
yeah. I guess I can arrange that.
I don't know if he's into games though. I need to find out because I know that there's other TV hosts and stuff like Jonathan Ross. He's really into anime, which I did not expect. So maybe Philip Schofield loves gaming. I don't know. Let's see if he's played games before. No, I need to know. I need to find. What if he's like a big Shin Sangoku Musou fan, or like he's a fan of Senran? We don't know. He might be. It's more than possible. Wait, no, he plays VR games. Shit. What? Okay, Jacob. He plays VR games. He plays games in VR.
Do you think he plays Phasmophobia in
He
VR?
might do. I'm looking at a thing that he was on Loose Women and he's talking about how he damaged his house playing a VR game.
Oh my god.
So he plays games. He plays games. Okay, Philip
He plays
Schofield.
games.
We'll love to have you on one day. And big thanks to our sponsors, Sugoi Mart and Crunchyroll. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating on our iTunes page, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, as well as supporting us on our Patreon page, patreon.com/GetALifePodcast. Jacob, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And what other episodes are we expecting to see in the future? Do you
We
know?
are expecting to see Sengoku Basara, as you've mentioned,
Hell yeah. Sengoku Basara. I love that game. I genuinely love
and Shin Megami Tensei 3 and 4.
it. Shin Megami 3 and 5. We're not talking about
You're right.
We don't talk about 4. We didn't get a code for 4.
I have 4 actually.
Oh, you
but-
do? Okay. We'll talk about it, I guess, in the episode. But yeah, Shin Megami Tensei, Sengoku Basara, and what else?
And Klonoa.
I completely forgot about Klonoa. But yeah, we're gonna talk about. You know what? I've been really enjoying that game. But
I love Klonoa.
we're gonna be talking about Klonoa. We're gonna be talking about a bunch of other games. I think Saints Row as well, because
Oh yeah, that's out in 3 days.
well, by the time this episode's out, it's out. So
That's true.
I
I have to pre-order it, so
You have to pre-order. I was lucky enough to get a code for it, and it is a really cool game. Not gonna say anything else than that,
I need it.
but yeah, it's a good game. And I think there's so many other episodes. We're gonna also plan episodes on Tears of an Arse, as well as aka Tears of
What?
Tales of Arise. Sorry, Tales of Arise. Tears of an Arse. We'll get into
the
that.
tears threw me off because I know Tales of an Arse, but like I didn't.
Tales of an Arse.
Tears of an Arse.
Tears of no, because the joke. So I went over to my older sister's house with her husband. Her husband was playing Tales of Arise, the demo at the time, and then she was like, "Babe, what are you playing? Tears of an Arse." She read it as Tears of an Arse, and I was I was just there in the living room. I was just fucking laughing. I could not breathe because the stupid shit my sister says. Tears of an Arse. Like what the hell?
Tears of an Arse.
Tears of an Arse. But yeah, no, we'll be talking about Tales of Arise as well as Scarlet Nexus. So expect a lot of episodes in the coming months. Remember, this is a monthly podcast, so it might take a while for our episodes to come out, but we are working on a lot of new episodes as well. So yeah, bye.
Bye.